Nihon, or more formally, Nippon. The land of the rising sun. Japan. A country of mountains and myths. An island nation with few natural resources save the sea. For centuries, closed to the outside world. Today, the world's most dynamic economic force. A society seemingly Western on the surface, yet deeply rooted in Eastern tradition. A center of world finance. An industrial giant. A people with a firm belief in their own uniqueness, especially when it comes to their language. For most Japanese, the Japanese language is not simply a language, it's a way of life. For them, their language is a mirror of their nation's soul. Exotic Oriental images are often presented as the real Japan by Japanese and foreigners alike. In these programs, we'll try to get behind such myths and look at Japanese society today as it's reflected in the Japanese language. A language once called the Devil's Tongue, using the most complex writing system ever devised by man. Actually, to speak, it's not quite as difficult as you might think.
Basically, as I began to learn the language and began to understand why people did the things they did and learn the language, adapting to the culture became a much easier process.
What sort of Japanese have you learned so far?
Simple greetings and how to count to 100 and things like that.
Mainly gomen nasai, I'm sorry.
I wanted to learn so that I could be polite, and I can say domo arigato. Domo arigato? Yes.
Ohayo gozaimasu is good morning, and konnichiwa, good afternoon, konbawa, good evening.
But I think one of the most popular expressions in Japan is shogunai, which means it can't be helped.
Have you learned any Japanese?
Squishy.
Irashamase, which means welcome. Arigato gozaimasu, which means thank you. Okimai desu ka? Are you ready to order?
Arigato gozaimasu means thank you very much. If you have those expressions, you can get along better in your life here.
Steve, ありがとうございました。
どういたしまして。
はじめまして。はじめまして。That's Japanese for how do you do. It's what you say when you meet someone for the very first time. はじめまして。Nukina Yuka です。I'm Yuka Nukina. Nukina Yuka です。レポーターです。日本人です。I'm a reporter and I'm Japanese. This is a very useful word.
はじめまして、上川理子です。学生です。九州からです。どうぞよろしく。
はじめまして、高見原です。日本人です。力士です。どうぞよろしく。
はじめまして、上川直子です。大学生です。九州からです。どうぞよろしく。
はじめまして、マイクセン・ストレンジです。イギリス人です。どうぞよろしく。
はじめまして、樺島由美子です。日本人です。スチュワーデスです。どうぞよろしく。
Those are just some of the people we'll be meeting during the series. どうぞよろしく. Pleased to meet you. どうぞよろしく. Whether you're a businessman or a student, a resident or a visitor, どうぞよろしく is a phrase you'll find very useful in Japan. In fact, Japanese is full of such set phrases. The right phrase for the right occasion. Just learn a few of them and you'll soon be getting by in Japanese.
はじめまして、ライベックスの右田です。どうぞよろしく。はじめまして。
Hajimemashite. What you say when you meet someone for the first time.
はじめまして、フロントの綿貫です。よろしくお願いします。
はじめまして、東京ガスの鳥原です。よろしくお願いします。
はじめまして、大阪ガスの広瀬です。よろしくお願いします。
いただきます。いただきます。いただきます。That's said at the beginning of a meal.
いただきます。いただきます。
いただきます。いただきます。
いただきます。
いただきます。はい、もしもし。
もしもし when you answer the phone.
はい、もしもし。はい。
あ、もしもし。
もしもし。
あ、もしもし。
乾杯。
乾杯 Cheers.
乾杯。乾杯。乾杯。乾杯。
How you express yourself in Japanese depends entirely on the situation you're in and your relationship with other people, whether you're of high or low status, senior or junior, for example, an insider or an outsider, younger or older, male or female, and so on. Formal occasions require very formal language, but we'll be concentrating on the language you'd find most useful in Japan. The Japanese themselves are experts in politeness, and it's a central feature of their language.
皆様、ただいまホノルル国際空港に着陸いたしました。
If you're an air stewardess in Japan, for example, etiquette and politeness training are essential to your job. On a flight from Japan to Hawaii, this is the kind of language you might hear.
皆様、ただいまホノルル国際空港に着陸いたしました。
Stewardesses are instructed in nothing but the best keigo or honorific language. It's not just how you serve the consomme, but what you say and the way you say it.
コンソメスープになります。ポタージュください。ポタージュで。よろしくお願いします。
お辞儀の仕方を練習したいと思います。日本のお辞儀3種類ありました。会釈、それと軽いお辞儀と一番丁寧な深いお辞儀がありました。このお辞儀をするときに大切なことは
So politeness in Japanese is not just a matter of words.
はい、どうぞ。
Much of our series we set here in the capital of Japan, Tokyo, capital of the East, Tokyo. It's where some 12 million of Japan's 123 million or so people live and work. We ask some of them their name. Onamae wa? Onamae wa? In Japanese, family names come first. すみません、お名前は？
坂口です。
お名前は？
宮川紀之です。
お名前は？
諏訪崎文夫です。
お名前は？
小島明です。
お名前は？
岩崎正恵です。
お名前は？
滝田美幸です。
We also asked about their job. お仕事は？お仕事は？
OL です。
お仕事は？
学生です。
お仕事は？
会社員です。
お仕事は？
会社員です。
お仕事は主婦です。日本のどちらからですか？ And where they were from. 東京からです。I'm from Tokyo. 大阪からです。I'm from Osaka.
大阪からです。
どちらからですか？東京ですか？
神奈川県です。
広島からです。
東京です。
東京からです。
どちらからですか？
東京からです。
何人ですか？
日本人です。
All of them are, of course, Japanese. 日本人です。
何人ですか？
日本人です。
何人ですか？
日本人です。
何人ですか？
日本人です。
お名前は Your name? お仕事は Your job? 東京からです。I'm from Tokyo. 日本人です。I'm Japanese. Some 80% of Japan is mountainous and uninhabitable, which is why most people live in the coastal plains with their enormous urban sprawl and escape back to nature whenever possible. During the series, we too will be exploring other parts of Japan and the Japanese landscape. Less than 50 years ago, half the Japanese population made a living on the land. The livelihood of small village communities and extended families was heavily dependent on the cultivation of rice. Since then, the countryside has become rapidly depopulated in the rush towards the Pacific coast. The result, a virtual strip city running from the town of Fukuoka in the west to the Kanto Plain and Tokyo in the east. 1,000 kilometers of urban development and industrialization. This is part of the price Japan has had to pay in becoming one of the world's leading industrial and economic powers. An achievement all the more remarkable for such a historically isolated country, consisting of hundreds of islands some distance from the coast of mainland Asia, and prone to the frequent upheavals of earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and typhoons. Most Japanese live on 4 main islands. The largest and most populous island is Honshu. To the north lies the least populated Hokkaido. To the south, Shikoku and Kyushu. Further south still lie the Okinawa group of islands. During the series, we'll be getting to know 2 Japanese families in 2 different parts of Japan. The Sakai family, who live in the suburbs of Tokyo on the island of Honshu, and the Kamikawa family, who live in a small valley on the southern island of Kyushu. Tatehiko Kamikawa, Tate-chan to his friends, works in forestry, Ringyo, in his native Ono Valley in Kyushu. Kyushu kara desu. He's from Kyushu.
はじめまして、上川立ちゃんです。仕事は林業です。九州からです。どうぞよろしく。
His wife Hisako bakes bread and cakes, which she sells to local supermarkets. She's a housewife. 主婦です。
はじめまして、上川久子です。主婦です。九州からです。どうぞよろしく。
The Sakai family, Mr. Sakai, Sakai-san, is a company employee. 会社員です。
はじめまして、酒井隆です。日本人です。会社員です。東京からです。どうぞよろしく。
Teruko Sakai, like Hisako Kamikawa, is a housewife. 主婦です。
はじめまして、酒井照子です。日本人です。主婦です。東京からです。どうぞよろしく。
It's a very musical family. Son Jun is also a company employee. 会社員です。
はじめまして、酒井純です。日本人です。会社員です。東京からです。どうぞよろしく。
Daughters Hiroko and Tomoko are both company employees, and of course, they're all Japanese. 日本人です。
はじめまして、酒井ひろ子です。日本人です。会社員です。東京からです。どうぞよろしく。
はじめまして、酒井智子です。日本人です。会社員です。東京からです。どうぞよろしく。
どうぞよろしく。Pleased to meet you. Those families will be giving us the insider's view of Japan. We'll also be getting an outsider's view from a variety of foreigners or gaijin who've learned to speak Japanese. Alan Booth is a travel writer who walked the whole of Japan from north to south.
Well, a gaijin is a word written with two Chinese characters, the first of which means outside, the second of which means person, so an outside person, a foreigner. It's a rather abrupt, some people would say impolite way of describing somebody like me. Anyway, this is a word that the Japanese use a great deal because they're very keen on distinguishing between themselves as a race, as a unit, as a large family, and anybody else who drops into this large family from the moon or from anywhere else.
Robbie Walker dropped in from Chicago. Now she's a housewife married to a Japanese salaryman.
First of all, the people are very friendly, the Japanese in general, and very helpful to me. When I go to the store, they more or less go out of their way to be kind to me and to help me figure out what's going on, particularly at the beginning, because that was really hard. You can't read labels, so you look at some laundry detergent and bleach, and you don't know which is which, and you can't read.
Trade relations between Australia and Japan have a very long history.
Bruce Holcomb is an Australian interpreter working in Tokyo and is an expert on doing business in Japan, especially when it comes to etiquette.
You need to adopt a form of moderated Western behavior. You need to be sensitive to and aware of the etiquette in Japan, but by no means should you mimic the Japanese because it becomes comical. Of Westerners bowing, etc., etc. Name cards. There is, for instance, an example I would give is of not throwing your name card across the table, as a lot of Westerners do. That's a real slap in the face, handing it across. If you meet a Japanese, you should shake their hand, not bow. They're expecting that. You're a Westerner, you know.
C.W. Nicol is a novelist from Wales, now living in the Japan Alps.
Well, the moment I stepped into the dojo, I had to understand what was being said to me. And I'm Welsh, you see, so we are used to being with more than one language around. So I had no prejudice against learning another language. I love learning languages. And especially I love Japanese because it's such a dynamic and such a beautiful language.
いいお天気ですね。
Tamara Taylor is an American student at one of Japan's top universities.
For me, it's worth it to learn Japanese. I have a good time. It's interesting. When I see a sign and it's written in all those scribbles and I can read it, it's a great feeling. Also, I'm going into business, so I believe that between the English-speaking community and the Japanese, there's going to be a lot of things going on.
Shintaro Ishihara is not just the enfant terrible of Japan's relations with America. Many also see him as the spokesman of a new age in which Japan will use its economic might to recast the world economy in its own image. William Horsley, BBC News, Tokyo.
Japanese isn't really so much just a language as a whole way of thinking, way of feeling, really a way of being. In that sense, the language is quite literally a dictionary of the culture. The language is the instrument used by this community, honed over many, many centuries, and it reflects the fact of a large number of households and communities living in rapport and harmony.
The myth is that Japanese is a very difficult language to learn. In fact, the Japanese put this myth out all the time, that the Japanese language is the most difficult language in the world. When foreign missionaries first came over to Japan back in the late 16th century, they called it the devil's language. And so the myth of Japanese being a very, very difficult language to learn, to speak, is, in my experience, not true. To learn to write it is another matter.
The Japanese writing system consists of 3 different elements. Kanji, or Chinese characters, which convey meaning or content. Hiragana, to express grammar. And katakana, used mainly for foreign words. The most important and difficult part are the kanji. It takes the Japanese themselves many years to learn them. At least they start young.
これが山という字になりました。ね。これが火という字になりました。
Japanese is traditionally written from top to bottom, but increasingly also written from left to right. You need some 2,000 or more characters to be considered literate in Japan, itself one of the most literate societies in the world.
の月でここは月になりました。
With 900 or so kanji, you can get by in modern-day Japan, though you wouldn't be able to read its literature or even the whole of a newspaper. The kanji were borrowed from Han Dynasty China from about the 3rd century AD and became known as Han characters or kanji in Japanese. No one can be sure of the precise origin of the characters, but stories have been passed on by word of mouth for centuries. Though there came to be many types of complex characters, the simplest were pictures of the natural landscape the ancient Chinese saw around them every day. Trees, mountains, rivers, the moon, and the sun. In order to draw these concepts easily and quickly, they were often straightened and simplified, as for example with the sun. The character for tree was a simple representation of a single tree. 2 trees meant wood, and 3 a forest. A line drawn in at the base of the tree signified roots and came to mean origin. The combination of the characters for origin and the sun has been used since ancient times as the name for Japan, Nihon or Nippon, origin of the sun, hence the land of the rising sun. People were an integral part of the natural environment. The character for person was seen as a person standing upright. A person from the country of the origin of the sun is a Japan person or Japanese, Nihonjin.
日本に住んでる人のことなんて言う？そうだ。日本人とか日本人とかはあんまり言わないね。日本、ちょっとみんなで読んでみて。日本人。そう、これで日本人。
In each program in the series, we'll pick out just a few interesting kanji, ones you'll find useful to recognize in Japan. But you don't need to master the writing system in order to speak Japanese. When Japan opened up in the 19th century, after more than 2 centuries of isolation, the newly arrived Westerners standardized a system to help them deal with the Japanese language. It's called Romaji, and it's the system we'll be using throughout this course. Take this, for example. In Romaji, it's written like this. This. 日本人です. I'm Japanese. アメリカ人です. I'm American. To make it a question, simply add か. アメリカ人ですか? Are you American? You might want to reply, はい、アメリカ人です. Yes, I'm American. Or, いいえ、イギリス人です. No, I'm British. Or if you're Japanese,
日本人です。
何人ですか？アメリカ人ですか？
いいえ、日本人です。
日本人です。アメリカ人です。
イギリス人です。
オーストラリア人です。
ウェールズ人です。
日本人です。
日本人です。
何人ですか？アメリカ人ですか？いえ、日本人です。
That's all from Japanese, language and people this time. Next time we'll take a closer look at one of the cornerstones of Japanese society, the family, and get to know the Kamikawa family in Kyushu and the Sakai family in Tokyo a little better.
ごちそうさま。
はい。3つお願いします。3つね。はい。
And we'll also follow a day in the life of Robbie Walker, who knows what it's like to be a Japanese housewife even though she's from Chicago. Meanwhile, stick with it, or as we say in Japanese, 頑張って!
頑張って!
頑張って!頑張って!頑張って